Hey guys, Interjection here, and today I have another game of Age of Empires 3. This is from PK Clan Tournament 4 Group Stages, Group F, and it was one of the last few games played for the group stages, because now we are in the round B, where players will be eliminated from the tournament if they lose their games, and players will be expected to play best of 3 against, well, whoever their opponent is on the map Great Plains, followed by Saguenay and then Yukon if it is required. This game, though, is of course still a group stage game. And we have Victor Sui playing as the Germans versus Interjection playing as the Ottomans in the north. Here he is, the colour purple, and I thought this would be a fairly interesting game to kind of end the group stages on. We have one more game after this from the group stages, which will be Shmras versus Flooky, which I'm very excited to cast, since that is probably going to be one of the most highly anticipated games, as well as the H2O versus Darwin game, which I also casted. Here, though, the Ottoman player, of course, putting up a trading post centre map, and as you can see, got those first 3 settlers rolling around pretty much instantly, because he got his XP the moment that thing was created, since the Traveler's man walked past. The Ottoman player, of course, did not collect any of his starting treasures. You see 30 food on the floor here, and also 40 coin over there. Didn't bother to get them. Now going back for them, because, of course, have to get that up ASAP if you want the XP from the Traveler's Man. A fairly risky way to do it, because sometimes you won't actually get the XP because your Explorer will have to walk too far. Of course, he might spawn on the other side of the town, in which case this player certainly wouldn't have got the XP if that had happened this game. But being very lucky here, we'll switch over to Victor Sui, and as you can see, he's about to get his first shipment, but hasn't even started sending those settlers just yet. Anyway, here, the German player, it's very common to see German players going for an early market, and in this game, he has chosen not to. Please note that he has just received his first shipment, is now sending it, whereas Interjection has already received it. Anyway, back to Victor Sui. He has 100 coin on the floor there, which he has chosen not to collect up, and that is because, of course, you might as well have those settlers collecting food. But then again, I think since German can go early market, and it is quite nice to do that. Obviously, you want to get those hunting dogs upgrades worth 10%, so your hunting collection rates, but hasn't chosen to do that. And obviously, he could have built a market with that 100 wood, and then perhaps bought some more wood with the coin there, and it's a nice way to use all of your starting resources. It's actually quite cost efficient to buy wood for the first 2 or 3 clicks, so of course you'll kind of want to save it. Don't always want to be buying resources, because eventually it does become quite costly and it's just not worth doing so. But I think it's a nice way to use all of your starting resources. But then I'm not pointing out things that Victor Sui should have done or could have done and didn't do. I'm actually just speculating, because I think he hasn't built an early market. He knows he could have gone with an early market, and the reason he hasn't done that is because Ottoman, of course, have a very, very powerful rush. They're very quick to age up. If we switch over to Interjection here, he's already going up to the Colonial age. You know, Victor Sui hasn't even started aging yet. Doesn't even have just about to get 600 food anyway. Over here, though, we see a little bit of conflict over a Tomahawk treasure, and it looks like that Interjection will start to attack this yellow explorer whilst he is also being attacked by a coyote, and then at the last moment they'll both ninja in and we'll see who gets the treasure. I think, well, I know who's going to get the treasure. I think Interjection will. As you can see, the purple Tomahawk now on his side. Very lucky, could have gone either way, and of course down to a coin flip in reality if you think about it. Though it is to do with who clicks first, I suppose. But yes, that's quite nice. Of course, Ottoman only have the 1 scouting unit, and the issue there is that they often build a trading post. And of course, if you rush to the middle, you actually, wasting a lot of time walking, and then you spend about a minute building that, and it means that you are kind of limited. So that scout definitely going to help him out, and also apparently not moving the scout, but it'll certainly also help you out in your first conflict as well. An extra unit is very nice. If we take a look at the stats, it has 16 times 2, so it's an anti-cavalry unit, so it can be very easily added to, of course, the Janissary group. Of course, Janissary is a very common unit to see. But Interjection about to click up here, and as we can see, he's collected 200 wood, and he's going to build himself another trading post here. Going to get 2 trading posts, going to be rolling in XP for those shipments. And his first shipment here in the Colonial Age is 700 coin. He's also gone up with an outpost wagon, plus 200 coin. Of course, the governor politician. That's 700 coin 900 coin, and then 100 extra on the floor, 1,000 coin, all of the coin he needs to age up to the fortress age. Clearly has a fast fortress agenda in mind. We will switch over to, of course, Victor Sui and see what he is up to. 700 wood now going up for Interjection, though, and of course, you know, very, very standard Ottoman fast fortress build. Of course, a very generic fast fortress build. We'll switch over to Victor Sui and see what he's up to, though, as I did say I would do. He is going up to the next stage with the Philosopher Prince. Okay, this is interesting. Of course, German players do have that 400 wood age up, which is, of course, very viable. Very nice one to go up with, because wood is the slowest gathering resource, and of course, if you think about it in terms of villager seconds, 400 wood is definitely the most cost-effective one to go up with, and you know, the wood, you can spend that on a barracks or a stable or houses, a trading post, whatever you might be choosing to do. Here, though, 500 food, and as you can see, he's put the, you know, all of his settler wagons onto coin there, and it looks like, well, his first shipment's 700 wood, so I think he's going to go up to the Fortress Age. You know, hasn't built, of course, a barracks or a stable or any military building, so definitely does not have a colonial agenda in mind, and is, you know, basically doing a fast fortress, but without the 700 coin, doesn't even have it in his deck. Totally skipped the 700 coin, and should be able to click up at a reasonable time, because, of course, you know, your German economy, these settler wagons do collect very quickly. Almost has all the coin he needs. Of course, that 500 food as well, helping him get all the food he needs, and certainly going to have a very, very nice time for the Fortress Age and have an extra shipment, since he, of course, did not send 700 coin. That's actually a very nice way to go about it, I suppose. Here, though, Interjection finding himself a settler, and something I was going to mention was that, you know, of course, Ottoman have that issue with scouting, and I think, you know, since they do, it kind of makes it a little bit tough for Ottoman players in a tournament, so to speak, because if they wanted a rehost, if they wanted to restart on the match, they have to say so before the 2-minute mark, and quite often you might not have even found your first hunt by then. Usually you would have found a first hunt, but it's then in your second and third hunt. Let's say your opponent has like 3 hunts, 3 herds in their base. Not that Victor does have 3 herds in his base, but if they did and you only had the 1, you could kind of, I guess, argue for a restart, but you're not going to know what your hunts are looking like, and for that reason, I think that a restart perhaps should be 3 minutes. Though a rated game, I believe if you resign before 2 minutes, let's say you resign at the 1 minute 59 mark, the game is not actually rated, so perhaps that is why it is 2 minutes. Anyway, just a little bit of discussion I wanted to get in there before we moved on. But here, of course, Interjection clicking up. It looks like Victor Sui bringing in those cavalry units. Of course, German get cavalry units for free each and every time they receive a shipment. In Age 2, they get 2 free Yolans, and then in Age 3, they will get 3 free Yolans with each shipment that they receive. But here, trying to kill some settlers, but Interjection being very quick, getting them in the town centre, of course, has that tower, and of course the Tomahawk and the Explorer using some damage there, adding that to, of course, the 4 Janissary, which he's just popped. Victor Sui, they were looking at him. Looks like, of course, with that 700 wood he received, he's built a stable, obviously has some wood left over, collecting some wood now, built some houses, built a trading post by the looks of it, starting to train some Yolans, and with the Yolans, I imagine he'll, you know, can keep up the raids. Of course, it looks like Yulan going to be his primary unit, and it's quite a nice one. It's very easy to mass, especially since you get lots for free. Though the Ottoman player here hitting up at the 7-minute mark, and I think, you know, here, up against what the German is doing, it's going to be a fairly interesting matchup, I think. We'll see what happens. But, you know, in this particular game, he could have put that tower very forward. Of course, I did say it's hard to scout your opponent, but a forward tower, you know, definitely a very nice thing to do in a fast fortress if you're sure that you're not going to be pressured in the Colonial Age. Of course, you do want it for defense, but a forward tower you can use as a home city spawn point to which these 8 Janissaries he's now sending could be shipped, and then he could push a little bit sooner. I do think Interjection, though, should have pushed a bit sooner. Of course, he has, you know, plenty of Janissaries there, and 4 cavalry which he can push in with. Looks like he's going to lose them, though. Of course, the Explorer here, lots of other Yolans there, going to bring them down, and that is not good at all. Of course, he needs these if he wants to push early. I think he might have, of course, sent these cavalry units off to do some raiding, perhaps find some settlers to kill, but it looks like he's just, you know, perhaps been a little bit unlucky, but then again, you cannot put it down to luck. You have to be on the ball. You should see it with the line of sight of the cavalry, these units here, and should be able to escape, but did not do so. And now, as we see, I believe, yes, he clicked up with the marksman, of course, Victor Sui, going up with the marksman there for 6 skirmishes, and now there's no way Interjection's going to be able to push into that. You know, Janissaries is his only unit here with the barracks. Of course, if we switch over to him, we see, okay, 2 cannons on the way, and, you know, Janissary is going to need a lot of them to kind of protect the cannons. especially up against so many Yulans. But here he's not going to be able to push without those cavalry. Of course, cavalry, you know, again, the only thing that can get to do damage to the skirmishes, because of course, you know, with just janissaries, the skirms can shoot and then run, shoot and then run. So without those cavalry, going to be in a little bit of a tight position, a little bit tough for him. We're looking at Victor Sui here. And all he's doing is training Yulan, but he has, of course, sent the 8 skirmishes shipment there. And now sending 7 skirmishes as well. So, you know, fairly nice. Lots of units there. Of course, gonna make it a little bit difficult for cannons. Having that much cavalry makes it, you know, a little bit more easy to kind of bring down cannons. But if of course, Interjection uses the Janissaries well, they are now veteran Janissaries, then he should be able to protect those cannons fairly easily. We have to remember that the Germans do not have a 2-cannon shipment, and I think that's for balance reasons, because if they did, they'd be a very strong civilization for a colonial agenda, especially since they get such a nice early economy with those settler wagons, and then, of course, the cannons as well. That would be, wow. But you know, coming in with the cannons, and he's had to wait for those, you know, Interjection cannot push without them, since, of course, he doesn't have the cavalry to do any early damage to what he has, to what Victor Sui has. Interjection now sending 1,000 coin, and I imagine with that we will see Mamelukes. Obviously, they cost 1,000 coin, and that is, you know, following a very kind of standard build here, 8 Janissaries, 2 Falconets, 1k coin, Mamelukes. Though, of course, Interjection is a fan of those fast revolts, which he gets ridiculed for from among some of the higher level players. Don't often work. Can work, though, if your opponent isn't expecting it. But here, okay, coming in around this side, and he hasn't scouted this side, hasn't done any scouting at all, and I think he's going to be in a little bit of an issue. You know, coming in on this side, you could kind of target the stable, and that would be you know, the best thing to kill. But I think what he's done is he's know there's hunts here, and has come here to kind of to stop Victor Sui from collecting them. But Victor Sui popping what I believe was the 9 Yulan shipment, yes it was, and also calling Minutemen at the same time, coming in, those cannons going down very easily. Of course, those Janissaries not in position. Of course, he could have protected the cannons a lot better, and of course used them to shoot the skirmishes and do lots of damage to them. And the cannons were the only things he had here to do damage against the skirmishes. Of course, did not have any cavalry since he lost them, and it looks like he's going to lose a lot of these kind of these Janissaries here. And of course, they're doing good damage against the Yulan, because Yulan do have fairly low hit points, but you can't argue with 37 hand attack. That's absolutely crazy. And since there are so many skirmishes in the back, all of those Janissaries going down, and it does not look like he's in a good position at all. I definitely think this could have gone a lot better for Interjection if he had, you know, pushed sooner, and then, you know, then perhaps with the cavalry could have done some damage against the early skirmishes, and forced the Yulan to fight some of the Janissaries, and certainly reduce the size of his army. Another option is, of course, we switch over to Interjection. We see he's now sending Mamelukes. He could have waited for Mamelukes to kind of appear. Then he would have cannons, all of those Janissaries as well, plus maybe the 4 Hussars if he had not lost them. And I think that would be very difficult for Victor Sui to kind of do something about. Of course, skirmishes here very weak to your Mamelukes. Of course, skirmishes are countered by cavalry. Mamelukes themselves have a ranged resist of 40% and 1.5k hit points. It's absolutely ridiculous. And Yulan's by no means a strong counter to Mamelukes either. So certainly it would be difficult there. And also the cannons, if they were protected well, would present a huge threat. But then again, you have to remember that by that time, it looks like Interjection calling his Minutemen for this push as well, which is a very Yumiyu Shmras based. I just thought I'd point that out. But yeah, I think by that time, Germany would certainly have a very powerful economy. And if we take a look at the German player's deck, he does have, you know, like 9 Black Riders, which of course are very strong against cavalry. And but here, though, looks like another fight's going to get going, and of course the primary thing here is to make sure that the Mamelukes are doing damage against the skirmishes, and then of course you want to get kind of your Janissaries into hand combat against the veteran alarm. But then again, that's sometimes difficult to do. Here, though, of course, looks like doing a reasonable job of putting the Mamelukes onto these skirmishes. There are a few, and of course focusing them down. Of course, any melee damage you can do against a Mameluke is good, since they do not have any melee resist. And of course, those Yulans kind of bringing them down fairly quickly. Though I don't think it's enough. I mean, yes, there's a few Mamelukes left here, but he has 3 war wagons about to pop just in time, and those things, of course, have a very high damage output versus cavalry. 42 range damage times 3 versus cavalry, and it looks like here Interjection is focusing down this one here, but you know, they're very tanky units, and I think, you know, because of that, of course, the skirmisher has a lot less hit points. You could focus that down a lot easier and reduce that damage being done. And, you know, more Yolan being popped here, and I think he's just going to run out of units, and that is going to be the end of it here. Of course, you know, after losing all of those units, the Mamluk push was certainly, you know, quite strong, as you can see. He did a lot of damage, but I don't think he can really go anywhere with this. I don't think Victor Swee's been training that, you know, particularly many units. You know, only has the 13 settlers there. But then again, you know, you have to count the settler wagons. They do, of course, count as 2 units. But then again, even if the economies are similar, I think, you know, Interjection here, I think he's certainly going to find it difficult. I mean, against the units he can train, I mean, all he can train is these Janissaries, because he hasn't put up any other buildings. Now shipping 5 Abbas guns, and I guess those are going to perform a similar function to the cannons which he had. And, of course, you know, can be protected by the anti-cavalry. So I can see the logic there, but I just don't think he can last much longer. The German player has you know, done a very good job of countering what Interjection has thrown at him. And, you know, Victor Swee now. Okay, so five Doppelsodners on the way. And you take a look at Interjection's deck, we see, you know, 5 Spahi, 5 cavalry, Hussars, of course, you know, lots of cavalry in there. So those, of course, going to be useful against those if they were to appear. And, of course, Doppelsodners have very high siege damage, so he certainly can put the pressure on here. Losing those units, look, it's just not enough to defend the Abbas guns, and there's just not enough Janissaries. And you can see what I'm saying. The German player is just going to overcome Interjection. I will now put play fast on. I think that is kind of the end of the game. I don't know what Interjection really is staying in the game for, though he does have over 1,000 food and his next shipment's about to arrive. Okay, so I imagine we'll probably see Spahi, and I can see the appeal here. Of course, Spahi, very powerful cavalry that do, of course, absolutely crazy area damage. If we take a look at, you know, Interjection's food gatherers are all in one place. As I said, the huntable animals, not so great, but that's not the point. If he had, of course, if these were, say, the German settlers, they're not, but if they were, then you could, sorry, knocking stuff over, then you could come over and kill these with, perhaps if you lucked out, you could, you know, possibly kill all of those with 5 Spahi. Perhaps, you know, if that was the same case for the German player, which it might be, you know, his only hunt is over here, there's also one over here, doesn't have any in his base. Here, though, it looks like he's trained 4, obviously, Janissaries from the barracks and tried to escape. Of course, he doesn't want to, you know, he wants to kind of stack up his units, stack up the units, because on their own, they're just going to go down. But, you know, if they're together with lots of units, they're going to have a much better time. Doesn't want to bring the Spahi in, though, because those are the things which are going to save him the game, if that is, you know, going to happen. But I think he's going to have to luck out big time, and it's not going to happen. I mean, we turn Fog of War off. You know, it doesn't look like the German player really is collecting food at all. Like, he's not collecting here, and he's certainly not over here either. There's none in his base. So I think Interjection just scouting around the map, looking for hunts that aren't there, trying to bring down a ton of settlers, which he's never going to bring down. And that's kind of the reason he's in this game, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Well, I do. Perhaps I should just give up with this charade now. Of course, I know exactly what Interjection's thinking. But I thought I'd cast it from this point of view. It just seemed appropriate. Anyway, yeah, so the reason I'm hanging on so long is I think maybe I can luck out and kill some settlers. I mean, it is a tournament game. Normally, I would just resign, but this is a bit more, you know, this game's worth a bit more than a regular game, but you know, I never do actually find those in the end, and I will turn play fast on so we can just get to the end of the game. It kind of climaxes here, as you can see. My settlers are going to be all taken out. I bring my Janissaries over, of course, to defend, but there's absolutely no way. I mean, the Yolan alone will kill the settlers that I have, and of course, he's focusing the settlers down, and they're going to go down very quickly because Yolans have an absolutely crazy hand attack. They have, of course, veteran Yolans. Has he sent that upgrade? Yes, he has. Increases the attack by 15%, as well as their hit points. You know, the skirmish is just going to absolutely annihilate me there. And the Spahi, I'm still looking for the settlers, but I don't find them. Type GG into the comments section below, #cowhacks, as it says on screen. Thank you very much for watching. The next game is Shmras vs Flooky. Absolutely crazy game, since they are such high-profile people. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.